In this video, we'll cover all the new features that we've introduced in Passwordstate 10, which is the first major build Click Studios has released in 5 years. This video assumes you've previously used an older version of Passwordstate, so you'd be somewhat familiar with the software already, and the first thing you'll notice is the new user interface. Every page has been redesigned with a new theme which can be switched from light to dark from the new Preferences menu, which is now located at the top right-hand corner of your page. The tabs in the navigation tree have now been moved to the new menu system on the left-hand side, and you can expand or collapse this menu from the new button at the bottom of your page. Previously, you had Passwords, Hosts, and Administration tab, which can now be accessed by selecting the appropriate button. You'll also notice this new Jobs button, which takes you to a brand new feature called the Job Scheduling Engine, and we'll touch a little bit on that later in this video. The layout of the Passwords page is pretty much the same, where you'll have a navigation tree where you'll see all your folders and password lists. The body of the Passwords page will change depending on what you're working on, and one noticeable difference you may see is your one-time code can now be quickly accessed from the Passwords homepage, so you no longer need to drill into the password record to copy those codes. You can turn this feature on by opening the Screen Options page and selecting the One Times option under the Password Columns tab. If you store external websites to be used with the browser extension, you now have this new Exact Match option for the autofill feature. If you find the browser extension is autofilling data into incorrect fields, try turning on this Exact Match option to see if that helps. Next, we'll take a look at the Host tab, and there's not much to report here. This page is pretty much the same as it previously was, but just a slightly refreshed user interface. You'll still find all your folders with your hosts, and you can still launch all your remote sessions from this page just like you used to. The biggest new feature in version 10 is this new Jobs tab, which takes you to a brand new feature called the Job Scheduling Engine. In the old version of Passwordstate, you may have been a user of the user account and host discovery jobs, and if you were, they've all been moved into a new folder on this Job Scheduling Engine page. You can now enable or disable these jobs from the Toggle Schedule State button, or run the job immediately using the Run Job Now button. Any previous history of the job is displayed in the Job History grid, and you can edit your existing job with the Edit button, which brings you to a page that might feel familiar to the account or host discovery jobs in the older versions of Passwordstate. If you wanted to create a new account or host discovery job, you simply right-click the folder you wish to place it in and choose the appropriate option. You'll also now notice this new option called Add PowerShell Job. This is a brand new feature where you can create and run custom PowerShell scripts of your choice, and these will all be executed directly from your Passwordstate web server. This may be valuable to you if you've previously had PowerShell scripts running in your environment from different servers to automate network tasks. You can now store them all right within Passwordstate, all securely stored in one central location, all fully automated, backed up, and they can be reported on. An example of this is a service desk manager develops a script to onboard new users in the company. He or she then gives the help desk the ability to run this script whenever they get a ticket through from HR to create the new user account. These help desk users will have the ability to manually input some data when running the script, and an example could be they input their first name, last name, and email address of the user. This data is then passed into the script, which is then used to create the user in Active Directory as per this example. Now we'll move on to everything new under the administration area, and we'll start from the top and work our way down to the bottom. The Active Directory screen has now been renamed to Active Directory and Entra ID. On this page, you can add in multiple on-premise domains or multiple tenants which sync via the Microsoft Graph API, and each tenant can have their own dedicated SAML app if configured. Under Authorized Web Servers, you'll notice this new authorization wizard. This is a new licensing feature that you can use to authorize any primary or high availability servers you have installed in your environment. This Authorized Web Server feature doesn't require the Passwordstate server to have internet access. All you need to do is follow the wizard to generate a text file, send it to the Click Studio sales team, and they'll reply with another text file that you will upload into Passwordstate. If you do have a test web server, you now have a new role you can select for this on this Authorized Web Server page. This next one is short, sharp and shiny. The bad passwords page has now been renamed to blacklisted passwords, but apart from that, the functionality of this page remains the same as Passwordstate 9. The job scheduling engine page is new, and this is where any job in the system can be managed by a Passwordstate security administrator. For example, they may want to disable or delete a job if the original author of it has left the company, or they can change settings on jobs, run them on demand, or possibly even compare script snapshots. A script snapshot is recorded every single time a user executes a custom PowerShell script within the job scheduling engine. In this example, you can see that I've edited the script just before running it, and the snapshot has highlighted this for you so you can easily see what changed. Another small change we've made is when you purchase license keys or renew your support for another year, as an example, you can now upload a file that the ClickStudio sales team will provide you instead of manually pasting in the license keys. The reporting page under the administration area has now been renamed to Reporting and Webhooks. The standard reporting page allows you to run reports immediately, the same as you did in the previous version of Passwordstate. The scheduled reports feature has now changed slightly, and from this page you can run or delete reports if needed. All standard users can still create their own scheduled reports from this menu on the left-hand side, but now in version 10 you can also add reports from this page. The benefit of this is the report has no owner, and you can set any email address you'd like the report to be sent to. Previously, any new report would be tied to the user account of the person creating the report. If that user left the company, for example, then the report no longer worked. This new option where you can create reports with no owners gets around that problem. Webhooks is a completely new feature, and if you use something like Microsoft Teams or Slack for group chat, then you can configure a webhook to forward any event triggered in Passwordstate to a channel in those programs. An example of this could be you want a webhook to alert your team immediately in Slack when someone logs into the emergency page of Passwordstate. Any auditing event you can think of in Passwordstate can be created as a webhook and forwarded onto your collaboration tool. Under System Settings, there's been a few changes which I'll touch on now. And to start, we have some new options for Entra ID syncing. If you use Radius for authentication into Passwordstate, you'll now find this new MS Chat v2 option for more secure communication between Passwordstate and your Radius server. Under the Job Scheduling Engine tab, there's some new options and settings in here that you can consider to help administer that feature. For example, in PowerShell jobs, you can specify what keyword to look for in the output of the PowerShell script to determine if the job was a success or a failure. With mobile app certificate pinning, already paired devices will now automatically update their stored SSL key when your app server certificate is renewed, eliminating the need to repair your devices after the certificate changes. Under syslog settings, we've completely redesigned this feature to give you greater control over how your data gets sent from Passwordstate to your syslog server. First, you can secure the communication with TLS and a certificate, which wasn't available in a previous version. Next, you can build custom formats of the text that is sent over to your syslog server using any of the available variables from these drop-down menus. Finally, any auditing event can now be turned off, which prevents it from being sent over to your syslog server, or you can optionally tag the auditing event with a different level of severity. The last thing that has changed under System Settings is we've now added this new User Preferences tab. These checkboxes on this page allows you to hide or show certain tabs from all end users when they access their personal preferences page. An example of this is you might want to remove the authentication page to prevent users from choosing a different type of login. Moving on, one of the issues we previously saw in Passwordstate 9 and below was when a user changed their name in Active Directory for any reason, such as getting married. Passwordstate didn't recognize this. We're now pleased to announce that all attributes such as user ID, last name, email address, user principal name all now synchronize when the Active Directory name is changed. This is also applicable to Entra ID users too. Any name changes there will also sync into Passwordstate. That's pretty much everything new covered in the user interface for Passwordstate 10. but there have also been some changes made to the API. We've now introduced a third API called the user-based API. Each user can now have their own dedicated API key that will authorize them to use in their API scripts. These keys give the users the same level of access of what they see in the user interface. All three APIs now have some additional calls you can make to manage remote session credentials and host folders, which can be found under this documentation page. And speaking of documentation, you'll now find that all system settings are set within a table, and there's one table for each system setting tab. If you ever wanted to know what the default value of a specific system setting is, look in the Security Administrator's Manual, and you'll find in the table a default value, so you'll know if it's been changed or not. That marks the end of this video, and Passwordstate 10 is available now for you to either upgrade an existing install, or perhaps you can set up a brand new test environment so you can explore all these new features without impacting your production instance. All system requirements can be found on our new Click Studios webpage, and you're more than welcome to log a support call with our team if you have any questions about any of the new features or getting upgraded.